Want Doom? Want experimental Doom? Ready for avant-garde? Ready to conquer lands unknown? If that is all, yes, ticking the boxes, this is for you, Opium Warlords, with its new album called Nembutal. Now, mainly this Finnish doom metal band is known for its ex-Reverend Bizarre mastermind Sami Hynninen, who is one of the key factors in the band, obviously, but not the only one in the band creating the music, or at least putting it all together with this album. He's accompanied by another gentleman who have then created this album fully and guided it through the storms and mists of the ocean. And what we have here is a lengthy album featuring doom metal with certain kind of flirtation with some other genres. Now, this album is filled with peculiar photos, and to be honest, I have no idea what they're going to tell me and what is the meaning of all that, and I don't think the place for telling such stories is this review. It's probably interviewable material, and if you wanna get deeper into the album, well, that's what you do. Anyway, this album looks nice and it's kind of nice to listen to, but it's not the easiest one when it comes to doom metal just to dive in, because it's so versatile album and it's kind of odd at some points. Also, there are parts which some people, I guess, feel like isn't even part of doom metal. Having 5 albums out now, Opium Warlords is one of those, I guess, household names in Finnish doom, especially when we're going more experimental, or like it said here in the Metal Archives, avant-garde metal. But it's definitely very doomy, and in that respect, it really shouldn't let anybody down. Now, being over 70 minutes in length, this is quite a trip to take to, and sometimes it feels like it's way too much. That is to say, unless you're really a fan of the band or fanatic about doom metal in general, you might feel a little bit lost in these woods, like taking maybe this album in 2 parts and so forth. Now, the interesting thing here is, while some of these tracks are really lengthy, you don't maybe necessarily pay attention like, hey, like this first track is like 19 minutes and then track is 5 minutes, or at least it really didn't feel to me like that. But what was fun to notice when I was listening to this album, with the first track, I was always feeling like, hey, this has some Celtic Frost parts, just kind of a doomier version of that is not so black metallic, especially in terms of vocals and all that stuff. But sometimes some riffs are very much like, hey, this could be some leftovers from Dome G Warrior and all that stuff. So it's flirting not only with doom metal but also other parts. Also, during the time when you're venturing through the whole tracks, you will find weird and even some point bored, because some of the parts are really exactly, I don't know, avant-gardish or experimental, however you want to put it. They're not your typical doom metal. And for some people it's a kind of a blessing, and some people it's just gonna skip the track. Take your remote control. I don't know why I'm waving my empty hand here, but you get the idea. Overall, it makes this a little bit hard to digest. I don't know how many times you would need to fully listen to this album to feel it click in your brain. It might be a grower album, but it also might be a borer. Borer being the kind of opposite of grower. With growers, everybody knows that when you've listened to the album enough of times, you kind of start to grow into you or grow on you, and you will start like even the weaker parts. Borer doing the opposite. I mean, you can really ruin even a good album once you listen to it too many times. Everybody probably has these kind of tracks that even nostalgia is not able to, save them. Think of like Metallica's Enter Sandman, and you pretty much know what I'm talking about. If you don't, well, good for you. So I really don't know if you can save Nembutal from its more boring points just by listening to way too much. I feel like they were getting on my nerves, and here I should probably use quotation marks, when I was listening to this multiple times, because I felt more like these are not the parts I would like to go on in a repeating ways or repeating pattern, because they more like make me feel like this is a very roller coaster ride. You have those ups and downs. For example, I think the opening track is definitely one of the best ones on the album. So in comparison, the weaker tracks get even more weaker when you compare to the best parts. That happens with every album. And overall, I feel that Nembutal is very interesting. It's definitely an album that kind of reflects how this particular artist is in a very specific mind with a very unique ideas put into the album, and then also kind of being very traditional with its doom stuff. So it's an interesting album, but not as easy that some might feel when going for a doom album, because it's not just playing slow tempo and having traditional doom riffs with kind of a traditional doom production. What must also be noted that the vocals are rather interesting, and in a good way, because it feels like there is so much more passion with the vocals than your typical doom metal album, even if not technically a new Candlemass or anything in that respect. An interesting album, but kind of a hard to get into, if that makes any sense. Go and listen to it. It's out on December 4th, sorry. So, soon out. Check it out. I don't know what else to say, really. Maybe it's your cup of tea, maybe it's not, depending totally how much you like doom metal to begin with. Interesting release, nevertheless. That's all. Take care. Enjoy some doominess.